Part 3. It was midnight, and I was out there again. My husband hadn't laid a heavy hand on me in weeks. I think he sensed the change in me. I had changed. He now heard me play more, even in the house, in the mornings, after cooking his dinners, in the bedroom when his friends were over. And he was hearing songs that I knew gave him a most glorious feeling, as if each chord, each sound were examined by scientists and handpicked to provoke the strongest feeling of happiness. My zombie had solved my marital problems, at least the worst of them. My husband could not beat me when there was beautiful music sending his senses to lush, sweet places. I began to hope for a baby, hope that I would one day leave my house and wifely duties for a job as music teacher at the elementary school, hope that my village would one day reap from the oil being reaped from it. And I dreamt about being embraced by deep blue liquid metal, webs of wire and music. I'd woken up that night from one of these strange dreams. I opened my eyes, a smile on my face. Good things were certainly coming. My husband was sleeping soundly beside me. In the dim moonlight, he looked so peaceful. His skin no longer smelled of alcohol. I leaned forward and kissed his lips. He didn't wake. I slipped out of bed and put on some pants and a long sleeve shirt. The mosquitoes would be out tonight. I grabbed my guitar. I'd named my zombie Udide Okwanka. In my language, it means spider the artist. According to legend, Udide Okwanka is the supreme artist, and she lives underground where she takes fragments of things and changes them into something else. She can even weave spirits from straw. It was a good name for my zombie. I wondered what Udide named me. I was sure it named me something, though I doubted that it told the others about me. I don't think it would have been allowed to keep seeing me. Udide was waiting for me there, as if it sensed I would come out this night. I grinned, my heart feeling so warm. I sat down as it left the pipeline and crept up to me. It carried its instrument on top of its head, a sort of complex star made of wire. Over the weeks, it had added more wire lines, some thin and some thick. I often wondered where it put this thing when it was running about with the others, for the instrument was too big to hide on its body. Udide held it before its eyes. With a front leg, it plucked out a sweet, simple tune that almost made me weep with joy. It conjured up images of my mother and father when they were so young and full of hope, when my brothers and I were too young to marry and move away, before the kill and go had driven my oldest brother away to America and my middle brother to the north, when there was so much potential. I laughed and wiped away a tear and started strumming some chords to support the tune. From there, we took off into something so intricate, enveloping, intertwining. Che! It felt like I was communing with God. Ah, this machine and me, you can't imagine. Emme! Our music instantly fell apart. Emme! My husband called again. I froze, staring at Udide, who was also motionless. Please, I whispered to it, don't hurt him. Samuel messaged me, my husband said, his eyes still on his cell phone as he stepped up to me through the tall grass. There's a break in the pipeline near the school. Not a goddamn zombie in sight yet. Throw down that guitar, woman. Let's go and get. He looked up. A terrified look took hold of his face. For a long time, it seemed we were all frozen in time, my husband standing just at the last of the tall grass, Udide standing in front of the pipeline, instrument held up like a ceremonial shield, and me between the two of them, too afraid to move. I turned to my husband. Andrew, I said with the greatest of care, let me explain. He slowly dragged his gaze to me and gave me a look as if he was seeing me for the first time. My own wife? He whispered. I. Udide raised its two front legs. For a moment, it looked almost like it was pleading with me, or maybe offering me a hug. Then it clicked its legs together so hard that it produced a large red spark and an ear splitting ding. My husband and I clapped our hands over our ears. The air instantly smelled like freshly lit matches. Even through the palms of my hands, I could hear the responses from down the pipeline. The clicking was so numerous that it sounded like a rain of tiny pebbles falling on the pipeline. Udide shuddered, scrambled back, and stood on it, waiting. They came in a great mob, about 20 of them. The first thing I noticed was their eyes. They were all a deep, angry red. The others scrambled around Udide, tapping their feet in complex rhythms on the pipe. I couldn't see Udide's eyes. Then they all ran off with amazing speed to the east. I turned to my husband. He was gone. Part 4. Word spread like a disease because almost everyone had a cell phone. Soon everyone was clicking away on them, messaging things like pipeline burst near school, no zombies in sight, and hurry to school, bring bucket. My husband never let me have my own cell phone. We couldn't afford one, and he didn't think I needed one. But I knew where the elementary school was. People now believed that the zombies had all gone rogue, shrugging off their man given jobs to live in the Delta swamps and do whatever it was they did there. Normally, if bunkers broke open a pipeline, even for the quietest jobs, the zombies would become aware of it within an hour and repair the thing within another hour. But 2 hours later, this broken pipe continued to splash fuel. That was when someone had decided to put the word out. I knew better. The zombies weren't zombies at all. They were thinking creatures, smart beasts. They had a method to their madness, and most of them did not like human beings. The chaos was lit by the headlights of several cars and trucks. The pipeline here was raised as it traveled south. Someone had taken advantage of this and removed a whole section of piping. Pink diesel fuel poured out of both ends like a giant fountain. People crowded beneath the flow like parched elephants, filling jerry cans, bottles, bowls, buckets. One man even held a garbage bag until the fuel ate through the bag, splashing fuel all over the man's chest and legs. The spillage collected into a large, dark pink pool that swiftly flowed towards the elementary school, gathering on the playground. The fumes hit me even before I got within sight of the school. My eyes watered, and my nose started running. I held my shirt over my nose and mouth. This barely helped. People came in cars, motorcycles, buses, on foot. Everyone was messaging on their cell phones, further spreading the word. It had been a while since people who did not make a career out of fuel theft had gotten a sip of free fuel. There were children everywhere. They ran up and down, sent on errands by their parents, or just hanging around to be part of the excitement. They'd probably never seen people able to go near a pipeline without getting killed. Hip hop and high life blasted from cars and SUVs with enhanced sound systems. The baseline vibrations were almost as stifling as the fumes. I had not a doubt that the zombies knew this was going on. I spotted my husband. He was headed towards the fountain of fuel with a large red bucket. 5 men started arguing amongst each other. 2 of them started pushing and shoving, almost falling into the fountain. Andrew! I called over all the noise. He turned. When he saw me, he narrowed his eyes. Please, I said. I'm. I'm sorry. He spat and started walking away. You have to get out of here, I said. They will come. He whirled around and strode up to me. How the hell are you so sure? Did you bring them yourself? As if in response, people suddenly started screaming and running. I cursed. The zombies were coming from the street, forcing people to run toward the pool of fuel. I cursed again. My husband was glaring at me. He pointed into my face with a look of disgust. I couldn't hear what he said over all the noise. He turned and ran off. I tried to spot Udide among the zombies. All of their eyes were still red. Was Udide even amongst them? I stared at their legs, searching for the butterfly sticker. There it was, closest to me, to the left. Udide! I called. As the name came out of my mouth, I saw two of the zombies in the center, each raise two front legs. My smile went to an O of shock. I dropped to the ground and threw my hands over my head. People were still splashing across the pool of fuel, trying to get into the school. Their cars continued blasting hip hop and high life, the headlights still on, lighting the madness. The two zombies clicked their legs together, producing large sparks. Ding! Whoosh! I remember light, heat, the smell of burning hair and flesh, and screams that melted to guttural gurgles. The noise was muffled. The stench was awful. My head to my lap, I remained in this hellish limbo for a long, long time. I'll never teach music at the elementary school. It was incinerated, along with many of the children who went to it. My husband was killed too. He died thinking I was some sort of spy, fraternizing with the enemy, or something like that. Everyone died, except me. Just before the explosion happened, Udide ran to me. It protected me with its force field. So I lived. And so did the baby inside me. The baby that my body allowed to happen because of Udide's lovely, soothing music. Udide tells me it is a girl. How can a robot know this? Udide and I play for her every day. I can only imagine how content she is. But what kind of world will I be bringing her into, where only her mother and Udide stand between a flat out war between the zombies and the human beings who created them? Pray that Udide and I can convince man and droid to call a truce. Otherwise, the Delta will keep rolling in blood, metal, and flames. You know what else? You should also pray that these zombies don't build themselves some fins and travel across the ocean.